What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
We got a killer episode for you today. We're going to be covering the worst muscle building mistakes beginners make and advanced people make. So even if you've been in the gym a while, I promise you'll be humbled by this list. This is a list I'm constantly reminding myself to improve. And by doing these things, you're going to put on muscle way faster, or you might actually put on muscle for the first time. If you've been training and you're like, why am I not progressing? I look the same. Other people are looking jacked. Why aren't I looking jacked? This is going to break down everything you need to do pretty much to do it, and the biggest mistakes we see, and they're going to be not what you think. I think a lot of people would think like the typical overtraining, not having enough protein, like these things have their place, but I think a lot of people are actually in the opposite spectrum where they're not working hard enough or they're doing things they shouldn't be doing and not knowing what to do. So we're really going to revolve around what we've noticed with people in the gym, where our clients had previously struggled and where we've helped them transform. So you're getting the water right from the faucet here, because we take people in who are struggling and we get them succeeding. And these 8 things are going to be transformative for you in your journey. And I'm going to start it with number 1 is you have to understand what it takes to actually put on muscle. A lot of people, especially back in the day when there was that attitude that if women lifted, they'd be bulky, they'd be looking like Phil Heath, which is like Mr. Olympia. They'd just be Arnold immediately the second they did a bicep curl. And for a lot of guys, I think they have this expectation too. And it's funny, I actually saw a thing that it's pretty funny. They said there's an opposite version of gym dysmorphia with the new Gen Z type of lifters in the gym. Before, people used to come in scared with big shirts and hide in the corner. And now you get these people coming in for the first time, flexing a double bi, walking around in a stringer, just fired up, ready to embrace the culture. And I think there's a lot of positives in that. But I also think a lot of people don't understand it does take a lot of hard work to put on muscle. You're going to have to do reps that really push you. You're going to have to be consistent. You're going to have to get in there and do movements you don't like. It's going to take a good measure of work. As a beginner, you're going to see a lot of progress, especially immediately. But I notice people really get discouraged when they've been training about a year and really everything starts to plateau out. And you have to understand, you have to take that same enthusiasm when you walk in there, and you need to keep applying that. Even for me at 10 years, like, you got to really love the small components of the process, because it becomes a game of inches the higher up you get. And it will take quite a lot of work, quite a lot of dedication, quite a lot of awareness and planning. And this will kind of transcend into everything else in the list. But I really just want to highlight that it actually is not easy to put on muscle. You don't just whimsically go in the gym and find yourself leaving looking jacked. Like, your muscle really is an example of you breaking it down, of pushing it, of getting bigger, of getting stronger, and eating well, living right, recovering right, and seeing the reflex of that. So you have to understand it will take on work. It's not just going to throw on. That's not the way it works. But I just wanted to start this episode with that note.
I think that's so important for number 1. And jumping into number 2 is just like, stop making your own program. There's a couple different reasons I would say it, but number 1 is just oftentimes we want to put in the stuff that we want to put in, not the stuff that's actually going to get us to progress, not the really challenging stuff. And truth be told, having an outside perspective and someone looking at it that's unemotionally attached, that's going to tell you the hard stuff, that's going to maybe, tell you you shouldn't be doing as many bicep curls as you want to do, and actually push for double leg days and all that other stuff. So having the accountability and someone who, of course, like, even I guess the second part of this is just someone who knows what they're doing. And sometimes I'll look at someone's program who says, hey, check this out. And there's just a lot of stuff missing. When we put together a program, there's a lot that goes into it, much more than people think. Even when our clients send their progress photos, we look for imbalances. We look for things that just need a little bit of extra volume. We take into consideration the past workout history, how much time you have, the equipment, overall volume, so many different things. And that's why I highly encourage you, have an expert do it. Don't worry about trying to figure out the most perfect stuff, because, we're experts for a reason. We've been doing it for over 10 years. And, if you are looking to get to that next level, just check out our website down below, www.colossusfitness.com. See what we're all about, see what our coaching includes, fill out an application. It should only take a few minutes. But I just wanted to let you know, like, you are leaving results on the table if you're just constantly trying to perfect your own program, unless you have been doing it for so long and you're an absolute expert with it. A lot of times when you're emotionally attached, you're just not putting the best possible stuff in there, and you're only putting stuff that you really want to do, which can hold you back from results.
Yeah, number three is really understanding nutrition. And nutrition is incredibly important, but you could have horrible nutrition and still put on a lot of muscle. You have to understand, like, muscle at its core, the big component of muscle building is actually fatiguing that muscle, tearing it up, causing it to recover, repair, and grow back bigger. That's it, really dumbed down, really simple, but that's the component. And to do that, you have to produce ongoing stimulus. You need a periodized routine. You need to be progressively increasing weight. You need to do all these things to actually see that change. And when you're new, like, any stimulation is just so new, and that's why you get those new gains. You see so much change. And then when you pair that with really good nutrition, you actually understand what it makes. That's how you can gain more muscle at more of a level. So your body is going to be in the best position to put on muscle when it has a consistent surplus of calories. So I'm not talking about a crazy amount, but when it has just more than it needs to be able to add on new muscle, to store muscle on your body, that is going to be the easiest way for you to really stack on muscle. Whereas if you're in a deficit and you're trying to shred down when you start lifting, you're still going to gain muscle. And if you do have a lot of fat, I would recommend taking that course. But if you're really, really skinny or you want to put on muscle, it is important you get in a surplus. And I'm not saying do a dirty bulk. I'm not saying just have crazy days where you just say, oh, I'm bulking, bro, and you go and you just destroy all the food under the sun. Instead, like, really learn what is your calculated surplus, be consistent with it, take it seriously, understand what protein does in the body, aim to work up to about 1 gram per body weight. We have a whole episode on protein, so if you want more info on that, listen to that dedicated episode, because I don't want to spend like 20 minutes just talking about protein here. We got other great tips to get to. And then just really understand how different nutrients affect your body, feed your body, build your body, the importance of carbs in the muscle building process, what fats do, how fiber is in the bulk. Like, all these different things come together, and these are all things we do for you within our coaching. But it's really important you have this higher level of understanding, because when you have this understanding, it's going to help you actually know what you're eating, how it impacts you, and how you can utilize it to put on more muscle faster.
And next up, we all need support. We all need accountability. If you think of every single high level athlete out there, you know, they have accountability for a reason. They have a coach guiding them with their nutrition, with their training, with their recovery, with every single aspect. And this is where I struggle, because a lot of times I have these conversations with people who have so much potential, but they just don't look at their journey. Like, they're missing a lot of puzzle pieces. And the main reason is because they can't really foresee what's about to happen next. They don't really have that person who's willing to call them out, who's willing to say, hey, we need to buckle down on this area. We need to improve our form here. We need to increase the calories here. And we've helped so many people. And I just really want to challenge you. Ask yourself who's on your team, who's going to help you build muscle, who's going to help you become uncomfortable. And once again, we will always be there to support you. And keep listening to these podcast episodes. Keep challenging yourself. You know, if there's people in the gym as well who can even just challenge you to push that extra rep and all that other great stuff. But of course, having someone just lay out the framework so you just show up, you don't have to worry, you just follow the protocols, it'll go such a long way. So once again, that link is down below, fill it out, and we can't wait to help some of you awesome people.
And this is big. Like, when you have someone on your side to do all of this for you, like, keep in mind, we've been doing this for ourselves as well as for thousands of others, making content for 10 years. Like, we're going to just take away all the nonsense and just give you exactly what you need to see the best progress. It's like we're the GPS. If you need to be somewhere, or you can kind of just meander your own way there, you could start walking, go grab a bike, you could rent a car, and you're going to just be taking all these random things. And I'm sure eventually you'd end up where you want, but just a direct, straight route. Me and Kyle come in on our special jet and we just skyrocket you to those results. So definitely, if you're serious about seeing change and you want to level up, definitely check out that link, click that, fill that out, and we will take care of you. But as we get into our next one here, this is a big one for me, and this is being scared to ask for advice / work out with people further along than you. So I actually love being like the weakest one in the group I'm working out with, or lifting with absolute monsters, or people who are just tanks, beasts that are so much further ahead than I am, or really people that are elite in their spheres, because it's going to motivate you to do more. I think when you're in there and you start lifting with all your buddies and it's amazing, and maybe you're all new and you're all doing 20s or whatever, like, your mind's kind of like, oh, this is a reasonable amount of weight. Some guy comes along and he's freaking pumping out the hundreds, perfect form, looks incredible. It really makes you realize, wow, I can have this big think and I can do so much more than I think, and it can motivate you to want to get to that level. Because certainly before, maybe your 20s feel like amazing, all your boys do 15s, you see that 100, you're like, all right, shoot, I got to keep going, and I'm able to do so much more. And a lot of people will will say, oh, I don't want to work out with this person because they're so advanced. I have no problem. Like if someone comes with an open mind, I'll work out with anyone, just do a little bit lighter weights. I'll help them through it. They ask great questions. Like I'm always happy to do that because I think it's good motivation. And when you see people who are elite, who have been doing it a long time, you see how they train, you see how they act, you see their attitudes, you learn their little form cues. Like you'll start to absorb these things and you'll get way, way further along. And we said it before, the biggest people in the gym are always the nicest. I think there's nothing wrong, especially make eye contact. Someone smiles at you. Usually it's like an invitation that you could say something or ask a simple question. Or you could always say, hey, sorry to bug you, can I ask you a question? People say that to me. I'm happy to answer. I'll say, hey, I'll get to you after the set, whatever. I have no problem with that because the gym is really this place where we're all trying to get better. We're in there lifting, trying to grow. And I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is being fearful of actually engaging with people around you that are doing what you want, have a physique you want, are really strong. Like I love just asking people in situations where I'm going to be or where I want to be, their advice that they would give me at the stage I'm at. And I think it's so amazing. And people are always happy to talk about themselves. So you go up to someone, you say, yo, Kyle, you are jacked. How the heck do I get big shoulders? He's going to be happy to share. Like, it's like you're giving them a platform to brag and really you're making them feel good at it too. So there's nothing to be scared of. No reason to be scared of working out with your friends that are maybe further along. Like use that as motivation, use that as a push.
Yeah, you're only going to level up. And I think a lot of guys have a hard time with asking those questions. And there's definitely nothing wrong with saying, hey, Josh has been getting it a lot, by the way, which is an inspiration. So definitely be listening to him because there's been a lot of people coming up to him lately. Yeah, but next up, reminds me, we've been getting lots of compliments, especially on the compound lifts that we've been doing, right? Just Josh has been cranking out 315 for many reps, and I'd say a lot of times people are avoiding those compound exercises and solely going to those unilateral things. And once again, unilateral has its purpose, isolation has its purpose. Like those are all incredible things, but it's easy to just skip out on those deadlifts, those heavy barbell squats, those bench presses. And between those three movements, even overhead press, maybe some pull-ups, like things that are just going to give you your biggest bang for your buck and actually pushing within those, progressing within those movements, they go such a long way. Even doing it multiple times a week versus just like one time a week will always speed up your results. It'll help you gain muscle. It'll just help you in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. So highly recommend, make sure you're not only incorporating them into your routine, but you're actually challenging yourself. You're getting better within them. You're getting full range of motion, and it'll help you out a ton.
This is a big one. Like, don't be scared of those big movements. Like when you get strong in that's going to always like start to just like drip into the smaller movements. You get a really big bench, your shoulder press is going to get stronger, your triceps are going to get stronger. Like this is a great way to really force strength. And I find for some people, they have a really hard time pushing themselves intensely on like a bicep curl. As silly as it sounds, it just seems mundane and trivial when it's such a small muscle. And you're like, oh, it's getting a little pumped, I'll stop. But with a bench press, you're like, way more people are like, I want to see what I can do. And they'll push so hard and grind for that rep. And it'll really begin to teach you like how hard you should be working. And I wanted to wait to this one because for most people, like, for your sets, for every set to be a good set, it should end with you struggling to do a rep. So I'm not saying absolute failure whatsoever, but it should be hard. When a rep is hard to do, that's pretty much what you want with every single one of your sets. It should end that way. So for most people, at least like an 8 out of 10 is a good point to be in terms of difficulty. 9 out of 10 maybe if you get more advanced. And then the odd time for the most appropriate thing, you could do a 10 out of 10. But 8 out of 10 is even a great place to be. And you might say, oh, I'm totally there. But you got to be honest with yourself. Like, a lot of people will think you're at 8 out of 10, they'll be at a 4 out of 10. It's like you could do double the amount of weight. And at that point, you're essentially just going through motions. You're not producing that stimulus, that tear that's actually going to produce that growth. So it's really important you actually challenge yourself to learn to push harder. And it's a skill that takes time, and it really takes a lot of awareness and practice. And over time, you'll learn to grind more and more. And I find lifting with people that are bigger, stronger, more intense, whatever it may be, you can learn a lot from them. And it's not always just guys. Like there's a lot of girls I know that just grind like crazy. I'm like, wow, this motivates me. Like I need to step it up. And obviously it's being intentional with it. Like there's one thing to be grinding, finishing a good set properly versus if your form is absolutely broken down to garbage and it becomes harmful and it's way too much weight, that's not beneficial. But actually getting to that point of challenge is where you actually are going to see that progress. And I guess that goes into my next one. And the final thing I'll say, and that's just lack of being consistent. You could do everything absolutely right, be in there for 3 months, and then just completely like screw off for like 6 months, do nothing, like you're gonna get destroyed by the person who's even working at 70% just consistently. Like you just got to keep showing up and keep showing up with an attitude that you want to do more, that you want to improve. And I put this one last because if you listen to this podcast, you're probably serious about improving your fitness, your health, your happiness, and actually seeing that progress. But one of the biggest things people downplay is just being consistent. I said this on Motivation Monday, this Monday here, which was absolutely fantastic. Just the power and the secret is really just consistency, showing up, wanting to do better, learning to improve, learning from your mistakes, learning for what works for you, and just continually having that attitude of being consistent, showing up, putting in that work, growing. That's how you'll see the ultimate gains. That's how you continue to put on muscle. And I guess a little bonus one here too is actually have a metric to track whether you are improving. Don't just say in your mind, like start doing your measurements, start weighing in, start taking photos. And if you're not progressing, you got to ask yourself why. You got to make some changes. You got to put in that work to see that change faster. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to see crazy progress, guaranteed, we will take care of you personally. Go ahead, fill out that form. We got you. The rest will be history in 90 days. Just getting started with us for an accelerator. You won't even be able to recognize yourself. You'll be blown away what you can do when you optimize your training, your nutrition, your accountability. You have someone there for you to encourage you and push you. You're going to be unstoppable. So go ahead, fill that out. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.